Hi everyone and welcome to another weekly update. So it's actually been 2 weeks since my last weekly update. Last week I skipped just because I don't want to have a weekly update video for the sake of having a video. I want to actually have an update video when I have something interesting, hopefully for all of you to share. So why all of that happened we get into in a minute, but before that please let me know what you've been up to in the last 2 weeks and what you're looking forward to next week, because as always I like to have these videos and have more of a back and forth conversation with all of you in the comments down below. Now, the reason why I didn't really have anything interesting to say last week is because, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm calling it a reading slump, but it's more that I don't really have time to read. I want to read, but work has been pretty hectic, first of all, and we'll get into that in a minute because it's a good thing on one side and then a bad thing on the other side. But that has been hectic, but also it's summer, people have a lot of free time. Most of the time, some people take days off, stuff like that, and everything is loosening up a little bit here. So it's just more normal now to get together with friends, have board game nights. I've been having a couple of board game nights, of board game days even, and having barbecues, stuff like that. So I don't really have a lot of time to read. The books that I have been reading are pretty dense. So in the evenings, when I'm very tired, it's very difficult to pick up a book. Now, it's almost my birthday, Tuesday, so 2 days from now. It's currently Sunday, and I have already received one book. I'm very happy with that. It's from my brother. My brother and his wife, of course, and he gifted me Dune by Frank Herbert. This is a different edition than what I had. It's also an English edition, and I actually really like the cover here. It gives it a more old school vibe. So I actually already have an edition of Dune, but since this is my favorite science fiction book at this point, I don't really mind having two covers, and I think that this will go nicely with my rainbow shelves. So yes, this was a gift from my brother, and of course very thoughtful as always. He knows that I'm a reader. Then he also gifted me a board game, and that was Splendor, but this is actually my own copy because I already owned it. So he's going to change it for something else in the shop, and I think that he said he was probably going to give me the expansion for Splendor. So if anybody ever played that and you want to tell me if it's good or not, please let me know in the comments down below. But if you are looking for a very easy board game that is actually a card game, then I would recommend Splendor. It's one that you can basically explain in 5 seconds to everybody, or in 5 minutes I should say, and people who are very young, people who are not normal board gamers, everybody can play this. So it was definitely a very good gift. I just already owned it. Now, what I have been reading, not a lot has changed. Again, this is why I didn't have a weekly update last week. First of all, I'm still reading Cashil's Chosen by Jacqueline Carey. This is the second book in the Fedor trilogy. Loved Cashil's Dart, loving Cashil's Chosen so far. I'm only 200 pages in. But I had to put this one aside because I was reading a different book. And this is actually very dense in terms of political intrigue, so you definitely need to keep your mind on all of this when you're reading. You can't really read this just thinking about other stuff at the same time. You need to keep track of everything that's happening and of all of the characters. So I actually needed to pick up a different book for a group conversation that we were going to have for Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson, which is the third book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. Now, I'm not done with it. I am halfway through. I'm around 400 pages in. It's a 900-page book, so I'm not even halfway through. So of course I did miss the conversation. Unfortunately, I will link that one down below. That was on Steve's channel, and I haven't watched it yet because of course it's spoiler-filled. But once I finish with this one, I will definitely watch it, and I will probably change my tactic for getting through the Malazan books, because I usually like to binge a book before we have a live discussion, so it's still very fresh in my head. But the Malazan books, it takes a long time, and sometimes I just cannot predict if I'm going to be very busy at work or not. So then it's pretty tricky to read a big book like this, especially if you're loving the series and you want to give it the time it deserves. So once I finish Memories of Ice, I will probably immediately jump into the fourth book, which is called Chain of something, House of Chains. Is that right? And then just read maybe one chapter per day. I've also seen that Steve is going to change all of the discussions where we will discuss half of the book in one conversation. So there will be 2 conversations per book, which I think will also be better. So far, I'm absolutely loving this book. I'm actually liking it a bit less than the last book, which was Death House Gates, but Death House Gates I felt was extremely character driven, which is something that I love, while here we explore the world a bit more. And it reminds me actually more of Gardens of the Moon than Death House Gates. I think that Death House Gates was very different from these two, but I am really enjoying it so far, and I do hope that I will be able to finish these 2 books next week, but who knows. Since it's my birthday, I do have some days off, but well, we might as well get into it. So I'm doing a PhD at the moment. If you want to know more about that, feel free to ask. But for PhD, or at least to get my PhD, I need to have 2 articles out and then, of course, write my thesis and defend my thesis. So I've been almost doing this for 4 years, 3.5 years at this point, and normally a PhD takes about 4 years. I do not have 1 article out at this moment, so I still need to have those 2 out. And the big problem here is that my boss is extremely busy, so he doesn't really have the time to work on those articles. I already have all of the data for 2 articles, but it's not really getting out. So sometimes that's very frustrating because I feel like I could already defend my thesis if I did not have all of those bottlenecks that I don't really have anything to do with, that I can change. But this Friday, my boss sent me a mail that by the end of this month, he wants to send out the first article, and if we can discuss this next week. Now, next week, since it's my birthday and I am a baby and I really like to celebrate my birthday, I know that a lot of grown-ups don't like to do that. I absolutely love that. So normally I always take the day off when it's my birthday, and since that on Tuesday, I also took Monday off. Really looking forward to that. I was going to buy a video game on my husband's computer because when I'm at home and he's at work, I can actually play video games. At this point, I am saving up for my own gaming PC. Don't have that one yet, so I had plans. I was going to read a lot. But then when when my boss sent me that mail, I knew that I had to go to work, because if I didn't go when I finally have this one opportunity, it was going to be waiting for months on his desk yet again. So I'm not going to take those days off. I know that he's usually in the lab on Mondays and Tuesdays, so I'm just going to go. And then Wednesday, hopefully I can take the day off once we had a meeting with my boss, and hopefully it's not too much work, then I can take Wednesday off. But that being said, the plan was to finish my lesson on those 2 days that I don't really have to go to work. Now we will see. But I am almost done with an audiobook. So this is actually the first book that I'm going to finally finish this month. So the month has been absolutely terrible. The audiobook that I am almost done with is City of Dragons by Robin Hobb, the 3rd book in the Rainbow Chronicles, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I think that I have maybe 50 pages left. Now this is my least favorite one of the quartet maybe, which is quite surprising because a lot of people told me that the first one is not as good in terms of quality than the other 3, but here I started to see that there is quite a bit of repetition of things that we already know from the previous trilogies, the previous 2 books in this quartet, that we already know because we've seen other characters say it, and then they mention it here again, but a different character is explaining everything. And I found that that was not really necessary, and that slowed down the story a bit. I also think that I find the story in this one maybe a little bit less engaging than in the first 2, but usually the ending saves a lot. And so far I'm still really loving this book. I'm still really loving the series. I'm still really loving the Realm of the Elderlings. Just in general, I think that this is the one that I have enjoyed least of all so far in the 11 or 12 books that I have read already. So sometimes that just happens. It's still a great read, but I can see why people say that this reads a little bit younger, just because there is so much explanation. But okay, so I haven't finished a single book in June yet. I have a lot of books on my TBR. And then there are some books that I definitely need to read. So first of all, we have The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Baker. So we have a discussion set for the 2nd or the 3rd of July. I think the 2nd of July for this book on Steve's channel together with some other amazing booktubers. I do know that that's still a while, but I have heard that this is very similar to Malazan. And since I have been taking, 3 weeks already to get through the first half of Memories of Ice, I'm probably going to start this one pretty soon. And if I have to pause these other books in order to start this one and actually be ready in time for the discussion, then that will happen. So probably Wednesday/Thursday I will be starting this one, just because I definitely want to be on time for that live discussion. Then another book that I will be picking up next Saturday is actually Stardust by Neil Gaiman. This is a very short book. It's only 200 pages. It's a fairy tale, an original fairy tale by Neil Gaiman. This is also the first book by Neil Gaiman that I am going to read, and I'm going to read this in 24 hours. This is going to happen because I have a 24-hour reading vlog planned for this book. So I will take you guys along with me. And probably I will also be hosting reading sprints the 25th. It's 25th, right? Next Saturday. I will put everything in the description box down below if I'm wrong, but I think it's the 25th. And then I will be reading this one. I will have some reading sprints. If you want to join me, you can definitely do that. You can either read Stardust along with me and also keep track on Discord, where I will share my thoughts, or you can read a different book and try to finish it in 24 hours, or try to make a lot of progress in 24 hours. Whatever you want. But this one will be read on Saturday, and hopefully The Darkness That Comes Before, I will be able to make some progress by the end of this week, so I will be ready for the discussion. Now that that is out of the way, these are my very big plans for somebody who has not finished a single book by the 19th at this point of June. It's all fine. I will have some time later this week, hopefully. Besides this on the channel. So first of all, since my last weekly update, I had 3 videos out. I actually am not quite sure what those 3 were because it has been a while. I know quite sure that it is my complete physical TBR video where I show you the almost 200 books that are currently on my physical TBR. And I also have my bookshelf reorganization video that went up. But then there was a 3rd video and I actually don't really know what that one was. You can see it right here. So I will link all of those in the description box down below if you haven't seen them yet. That bookshelf reorganization was a journey, let's just keep it at that. But at this point, I'm really happy how they looked. I have one sort of shelf that I made into rainbow shelves, and I'm quite happy with that. But now, for instance, I have this one, it's white. I will have to rearrange everything again, just so I can squeeze it into the white section. So I probably haven't thought that one through that well, but we will see. I really like the rainbow shelf, so I am going to keep that. Now, for next week, at the very least, I will have my summer recommendation video up. So all of the books that I would recommend to read in summer, because they just have those summer vibes. So that's definitely going to happen. Then I do hope that I can finally discuss Death House Gates, but we will see if I have time for that. For now, because it is so busy at work, I'm just going to, at the very least, have one video up besides my weekly update video. And then if I can have a second one up, all the better. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We will see how far we get. Now, in terms of other people's channels, again, oh wow, this has been hectic. So last week on Friday, I was on Steve's channel for the Friday conversation. We were joined by Joanna and Theo, both lovely people. I was so happy that I finally got to speak to Theo because I never spoke to him before, and that I got to speak with Joanna again because it's been a very long while. I think that we discussed one of the first law books and that was a lot of fun, but it has been a year from now. So very nice to see her again and talk to her again. Then this Friday, I was going to be on the Friday conversation chat yet again. I was very much looking forward to that, and I was not there. Now, I will link all of those down below if you want to see them. I'm definitely going to rewatch the one that I wasn't there for, which was with Alan of the Library of Alexandria, and then also Alex of Tall Guy Reads. And then Taylor from Made Between the Pages was also present. So, Friday I had a barbecue with friends right here, so I did all the preparations, stuff like that. And then at 11:30 they left and my husband also left. Now normally I do these Friday conversations on my husband's gaming PC and I set everything up, but he was no longer present, and earlier that week he went to a LAN party. And if you don't know what it is, you take your gaming PC with you, you basically just get everything, put it in your car and then assemble it somewhere else so you can game together. So I thought that I knew what I need to do for the installation of the Friday conversation, going live, all of that. It didn't work. Either the camera worked or the sound and the mic worked. One of the two. I could not choose both. And I tried, but I was already 45 minutes late at this point for the Friday conversation. It was going on for almost an hour and it just wasn't happening. I'm very bad at tech things, so I just didn't know what to do. Then I wanted to go on my laptop. I thought maybe that is working. But my laptop is a piece of junk. It's almost 10 years old at this point, so its battery doesn't work. So it has to be charged, it has to be connected to the charger the entire time because the battery in itself doesn't work. You can guess 3 times who left their charger at work. So I had a laptop, but it wasn't working. So at that point it was 1 a.m. It wasn't working, I just went to sleep. The next day, Saturday, I asked my husband what went wrong here, what did I need to change with your PC to make it work, and I forgot to insert one little USB, and if I did that, everything would have worked. So I was in a pretty foul mood because of that, because these Friday conversations are always so much fun, so I wasn't really happy that I missed one because I am stupid. But next Friday, I will be on another Friday conversation, and this time I will make sure, like at 6 p.m., that everything is set for midnight. So I will not miss that one. But that is everything that is planned, and that is everything what has been going on in my life, which sounds pretty stupid probably, but it has been hectic. So fingers crossed that first of all, my first article is finally going to leave, and hopefully, of course, it gets accepted and we don't have to make a lot of changes, and finally my PhD will get going and I will see the end of the tunnel, and hopefully I will be able to finish Memories of Ice, Stardust by Neil Gaiman, and make some progress in the darkness that comes before. A lot of plans. So that's everything that I wanted to share with all of you. Like always, please let me know in the comments down below what you have been up to, and that's basically it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. See you next time. And of course, if you haven't seen the other videos that I have uploaded over these last 2 weeks, I will link those in the comments down below, and you can probably see one right here. See you next time and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye!